T.
This election has been a turning point for independent parties. Last election, only 6 minor parties were voted into the House of Representatives. This year, 16 independent candidates sit on the crossbench, the largest group since the popularisation of major parties. So, how can you monopolise on this uprising of individualistic voters to continue this trend 2025? As an independent, you were uniquely vulnerable. This last election, however, saw the emergence of climate and political integrity-focused independents, supported by the Climate 200 group. The professionally diverse candidates united have gained significantly higher media coverage, public attention, and an association with their namesake colour, teal. Climate 200 funded 22 independents across Australia, winning 8 seats and 12 coming within at least 5% of final votes. The success rate of over a third and substantiation of over half proves that this movement has resulted in the most independent politicians in decades. An independent vote has been seen as a wasted vote in recent history, but this teal movement has originated a new mentality. Don't waste your vote on a major party. The independent collective can become a powerhouse, representing small sections of the population to truly advocate for their community. It is my belief that independents such as yourselves should challenge the major parties. How? I've analysed their past campaign strategies so you can use them better. Labor's federal election campaign focused on portraying Scott Morrison as an inadequate and unresponsive leader, highlighting his handling of the COVID crisis and frequent abandonment of responsibilities. They appealed to smaller, less powerful groups, including First Nations people, environmentalists, and low-income workers, portraying Albanese as a self-made man who is not afraid to roll up his sleeves. Liberals have a reputation as the more conservative party, and their federal election campaign reflected this. Policies for strict border control, increased national defence, and tackling union lawlessness standing out. They re-established their economic brand, including $270 billion for defence, apprenticeship support, and promises to reduce taxes. Liberals drew attention to Anthony Albanese's lack of portfolio and relative obscurity, asking voters, what do we actually know about Anthony Albanese? A major party's policies, though their foundation, are not always relevant to the general populace or to an election. Minor parties' policies, however, are usually relevant to attracting their specific demographic of people and creating a brand. Therefore, policies must be clearly and widely distributed. For major parties, this is done on websites, social and print media, and when speaking to the public. Minor parties must exacerbate this force due to their relative obscurity. As an independent, your policies are clear, targeted, and often attract particular demographics. The only issue is, constituents don't know who you are. One of the most important aspects of campaigning is simply letting constituents know you exist, having them know and recognise your name on election day. So, maybe we should follow in the footsteps of Labor, who spent $13 million over their election campaign. I know the issue. As an independent candidate, finding and raising the necessary funds can be difficult, impossible even for the non-billionaires. However, commercial director Mungo McCall has said in interviews that understanding what drives your audience can be more important than outspending the competition. He attributes the right message as key to a successful campaign. Campaigning is all about getting in touch with your target audience, so do your research. Reminding constituents of the positive influence you have had or will have on the community is a necessary aspect of campaigning, a point which seems obvious but is often overlooked in favour of negative campaigning, a method presumed to be more effective due to proven increased perception and viewer processing of the information, as well as the motivational incentive of voter viewers, which is greater when they avoid a perceived cost as opposed to gaining benefits. However, these same meta-analytical studies have concluded that negative advertisements have no effect on political interest. Although they reduce support for the target candidate, support for the source party is reduced by at least as much. Furthermore, voters exposed to these advertisements show decreased political efficacy and government trust, establishing negative campaigning as an unsustainable and overall lose-lose method. Moreover, political candidates worldwide have been creating increasingly successful campaigns while focusing on the positive rather than the negative, according to Brian Lognan, Tony Abbott's 2013 political campaign advisor. The 2013 election is a perfect example of positive campaigning being used as the primary method of partisan advertising with negative as a secondary. In this election, after a hung parliament led by Labour, the Liberal Party targeted previously safe Labour seats, much like the two independents have done to Liberals, with a positive plan for Australia's future and an experienced, stable team led by Tony Abbott. In the triennial successive analysis of Liberals' election campaign, Lord Nairn shared the coalition's reasoning for this focus as recognising Australians did not want to vote against a bad government, but wanted to embrace and support a positive alternative. He noted that over 70% of political advertisement was based on this positive alternative. From this, we can see the importance of a largely positive campaign, but negative campaigning is also necessary, and not just as retaliation. Due to its short-term efficacy and high noticeability, which make negative campaigning most effective when used briefly, negatively targeted output should be released in an election's last leg. Primary research has shown that political interviews, according to voters, are held in a much higher regard than any other direct campaign method. Unfortunately, media interviewing independent party candidates is much less common than major party interviews, where even an interview with Josh Frydenberg can represent the entire Liberal Party in ideals. Therefore, it is important as you transition to this advanced campaign strategy to take interviews and take them well. Next, we look at how to best take a political interview based on the major parties' tried and true steps. Former SA Liberal Treasurer Robert Lucas stated that parties try to highlight A, the good things they've done, B, what they hope to do, and C, where they think their policies are different and better than the other side. Interviews with either party follow these steps exactly, leading with the positive impact their party has on the community, then with the negative impact the opposing party has, or will have on the community. For you, this second step may look like questioning election promises, bringing up issues with majority governments, and mentioning competing politicians negatively. An important point towards this model is its similarity to our established advertisement campaign strategy, where positive campaigning is used primarily and negative campaigning is used in the final stages of the election for its short-term benefits. Political experts of every affiliation agree that face-to-face interaction with voters is critically important. When speaking to Robert Lucas and John Gardner, both long-serving members in the South Australian House of Representatives, it was made clear by Gardner that direct interaction with voters should be created in any mechanism where people meet. This may be through electorate or otherwise targeted door knocking, telephone canvassing, orchestrated events in public spaces like supermarkets or local parks, or by attending public meetings, where you are able to show your attentiveness to the public. Observed to be the most effective tactic by Gary Jacobson, this aspect of campaigning is incredibly significant due to its opportunity for personal and human interaction with voters, especially those who are unsure. Studies show voters are reluctant to vote for unfamiliar candidates, so building established and authentic connections with the community allows you to connect with the voters and establishes an exceptional medium to educate on policies, stances, and your competence. Social media. Let's talk about it. Both major parties have active Instagram accounts, which post at least 30 times a month, amounting to 1.5 and 1.1 posts per day outside of the election. During the election, their activity skyrocketed, peaking in the election month of May with 12.1 and 11.8 posts per day. Labour's higher average, paired with its much more consistent posting schedule, is a factor towards its victory in the election, showing the importance of frequent and regular social presence. The Australian Electoral Commission says that social media affords new opportunities for engaging in democratic processes, and so politicians are now being encouraged to use these new interactive mediums. The rapidly expanding platform offers increased access to voters and can reach larger masses than the now declining among most demographic groups' traditional print medias. The site's popularity, particularly among younger and thus less experienced voters, presents a unique opportunity for enlistment, and an environment which, due to its infinite representation of ideas and ideologies, can create more swing voters who do not have preconceived party loyalties, making them ideal candidates for campaigning. Social media, particularly Facebook, which most politicians favour, presents a medium for interaction with voters directly. It allows them to share issues, have their voices heard, and participate in democratic processes. Their political engagement, which two-way interaction psychologically increases, creates higher voter confidence and raises trust that a candidate will create positive change for them. Your job in an election is to get your face out both in the electorate and in the community. It's important to take any and all opportunities to show who you are in the community and broadcast it. Some of the more savvy politicians post up to 7 times a week on Facebook. It could be anything: collaboration with other politicians, local places you have touched, current projects, anything that shows the public you're working hard and allows them to build their trust with you. You may wonder what you can do between elections to secure your relevance within the electorate. Constant presence in the media and in your community is a must, especially when protecting a seat, because the experiences between elections and loyalties voters create often have just as much effect on voters as campaigning. A longer campaign also holds great benefit for parties who do not form government at the time. In the 2013 election, which Liberals won after the 2010 Labour-led hung parliament, according to their campaign managers, most Liberal candidates had been actively campaigning in their local communities for at least 12 months by the time of the election. Marketing gimmicks and the recognition of national days, such as International Paramedics Day and milestones like 100 days in office, help keep you favourable with voters by reminding them who you are and the good work you are doing in their community between elections. This has been Say Science 251044J, encouraging you to break the independent status quo and unite to stand against major parties for your own independent success.